What's up, fam? Welcome to Lazy Booking Live on A2D Radio Tuesday night. Myself, Maddie, the original Ginger Gang, coming at you, Maddie. Boop. Listen, we're coming at you live from our own Real Talk studios here on A2D Radio. Shout out to our sponsors, Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy, and you can find him in Burlington, Cherry Hill, and Princeton, New Jersey. You can find him on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Also brought to you by Ambuck Services. It's AMBUCK Services. If you need any kind of gutter guards, gutter cleaning, deck installation, restoration, any kind of outside work done, hit up Michael Ambrose. Let him know the fam at A2D sent you. And guess what, guys? 20% off. So good time of year right now. We got leaves are going to start falling, and them gutters are going to get clogged up. So let's reach out to Michael there and let's get that taken care of. And again, that's AMBUCKservices.com. Our topic of conversation tonight, Maddie. We just had Clash of Champions this past Sunday night. We had Raw last night. And our topic of conversation is going to center around the main event that we saw on Clash of Champions, which was Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. A lot of great storytelling with that match. And the topic of conversation is, this is step one to get us to Roman Reigns and The Rock at WrestleMania. Agree, disagree? So guys on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, comment in. We want to talk to you guys about this and much more, what we saw from Raw last night, and a condensed version of A2D Radio. Listen, we appreciate you guys stepping in, in the middle of all this playoff baseball going on, go Cards, as well as, we have the presidential debates tonight, which I know people are excited for, and we don't want to take up too much of your time from that. So, and I do encourage you to go out and invoke your right to vote. That's about as political as I'll ever get on here. So, Maddie, Clash of Champions. We're going to go through the card, but I want to focus on the main event first, bud. Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns, and the whole build up to this match obviously was focused around the family, the Samoan dynasty, and we know how deep their heritage is. Back to High Chief Peter Maivia, the Wild Samoans, the Head Shrinkers, Fatu. Obviously Rock, Umaga, Yokozuna, and so on and so forth. It's a deep lineage, including a number of superstars now, and Nia Jax, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, Roman Reigns, and so on. So it was very heavily built around that. And I want to get your reaction first to the match and to the storytelling in the match. I want to get your takeaways, and we will. John Danzo, welcome back, John. We haven't seen you in a while, buddy. He says the ladder match was the match of the night, in my opinion. That was a great match, and we're definitely going to dive into that as well. And Prism says, I just read the CBS results. They gave it 9% of the matches a B grade. That's about all I know. That's very high. And we're going to dive into that in a minute. Go ahead, Maddie. I want to hear your thoughts on the main event with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso.
I felt two things. I remembered the part with the way that they had built it up. It was interesting because it was Jey Uso, not so. His brother comes out, and so sometimes it's hard to tell them apart. But so he comes out and he decides he's going to throw in the towel, which actually kind of reminded me of the moment when Owen Hart coaxed his mother to throw in the towel that cost Brett the WWF title. But I liked it for the simple fact of, Roman is taking this heel thing to another level, to the point where he's like, I'll beat the hell out of my own family in order to remain champion. It's not because I have to prove anything. It's just because I want to be champion. Now I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. It's as simple as that. And he aligned himself with Paul Heyman to further that. And just simply say, like, so what? Paul Heyman's the guy who's going to lead me to fame and fortune, and I'm the Universal Champion. I don't care. Family doesn't mean anything. This title's all that matters. And I like it. I actually really like this direction that they're going in, and I hope they continue it for a little while. I hope that, they don't I hope they don't panic and make a knee-jerk reaction somewhere down the line that'll be forced. I just hope that they let this organically continue to grow, and I think that this is really well done so far in the storytelling department.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Jey Uso was great in this match, by the way.
Absolutely.
I thought that everything, the way this whole thing, I like that they did a slow build. I like that WWE didn't immediately go to the physicality, right? I liked the whole build up to it in terms of, Roman smiling in his face and then sneering behind his back, and um, kind of like you talked about. It's that whole, family aspect, but you could see that there's the I need to be the chief, or so to speak, the head of the table, as he constantly put it, in this family, and establish who the guy is in this family. So I really, really did enjoy that. But going into the actual match, I wasn't sure what to expect. A lot of Roman's matches have been predicated on Roman showing up late and winning the match at the end with very little effort. I thought that they did a very strong job in terms of, it was predominantly Roman, but I thought that Jay looked really strong. I thought he looked like a guy who seized his moment, never had a moment for a WWE Championship match, and was the personal aspect of this, I thought, really came through. And then obviously we had what transpired later in the match, where Roman had a chance to put him away, decided not to, and really it was about, I want you to acknowledge who the chief is in this family on this island. And Jay not being willing to do that, I loved it. And having Jimmy come out and eventually throw in the towel, and then kind of sitting, jumping in to protect his brother, and then giving Roman what he wanted, just to kind of protect his brother. I loved it. I thought it was great. In fairness, I didn't like it originally because I turned on the match late and I only saw the end of it. But when I watched it back and I watched everything start to finish, I thought it was amazing storytelling, the way that everything went through. Um, and I'm going to be really interested to see where this goes now. There's not a deep roster with the family outside of the Usos on the men's side. So in terms of the poll question, Maddie, do you agree or disagree that this is the first phase of let's get to Roman and Rock at WrestleMania?
Yes, I agree. I think this is a seed being planted. It may not continue with the Usos. Maybe we'll get another match, but it will be with Jimmy instead of Jay.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we kind of, not that they're like abandoned or anything like that, but you can almost kind of kayfabe it where it says like they're taken out of the equation for a period of time. And then as you build up towards it, you keep getting slower hints as time goes on. Roman keeps piling up title defense after title defense after title defense against whomever. Slowly start planting those seeds, and then at Rumble, that's when you make the big, like, oh boy, this is the
Yeah.
direction we're going in, and then that of course builds you up to WrestleMania with The Rock and Reigns. And if they go in this direction, I'm fine with it. I like the idea of The Rock kind of coming back and saying, you know what, I thought I was done getting in the ring after I lost to John Cena. No, I got to do this one more time. I got to do it for my family. I got to do it
Yeah.
now because for that reason, I need to rescue the family. I need to rescue Roman. Not because he's a terrible person. It's just because he's lost it. He thinks that, doing this is what's going to make him better. It's not, so I got to save my family. That's basically what the psychology would be.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I agree, but I kind of agree tentatively, because for one thing, I think it's fair to say, and we all agree, there's nothing that Rock needs to come back. Rock doesn't need to come back. Let's just say that. Real quick, Joseph Horakowski says, like 2 months ago, I came on here and said, why don't we give WWE? Why doesn't WWE give Roman Reigns Paul Heyman? I turned on Raw this week, and what do I see? Roman and Paul. It took long enough. Yeah, it was great. And you know what? I'll dive into that for you in a second, Joseph. And decision making behind that I've read about. But I will say, so I think it's true. It's fair to say, though, there is that Roman match that's out there. And if Dwayne's going to come back for one more match, that's the match. I mean, there's two matches I'd want to see him have, right? It's AJ Styles. I feel like AJ Styles is the right-in name for anybody. And Roman Reigns. That's the two matches that I think would. What's up, Pete? That's the two matches that I think are out there. But there's really not a need for the AJ match, so that's just kind of like in my head a dream match. But the Roman match is the ultimate match, and part of the reason we felt like we would never get to it, aside from the obvious of Rock being where he is in life at this point, is the fact that I don't know that we ever really believed that they would ever pull the trigger and turn Roman heel. Now that you've done that, because it's impossible to have these two as faces and have a rivalry. What is The Rock best at? It's The Rock being able to freely speak and go after his opponents, right? To build that anticipation.
Mm-hmm.
With Roman, it's just too friendly. It's not you're not getting the best out of Rock in that situation. Now that you've done that and pulled the trigger, man, the possibilities for this are endless. And I love that they're finally doing Roman justice in that they're following the family lineage of the Samoan dynasty. We've heard about it so much, and now I'm the top dog of the dynasty, So my only hesitation with this would be this needs to have a full capacity of fans in the arena. And we're in the stadium, not even an arena, a stadium. This is something built for 80,000, 90,000, 100,000 fans. This is a ticket seller. This is an all-time moment. I think it's safe to say that the likelihood of having WrestleMania in Los Angeles this year is slim to none. I would give it maybe a 5% chance, but if you're following anything with COVID and everything going on, particularly in California and Los Angeles, the odds are not looking good. And if you follow what's been reported, it is possible that WWE is already out there looking at other venues, especially with the Staples Center now being rented out the same week. Go ahead, Maddie.
Yeah. I was going to say, what is it with WrestleMania and scheduling it in LA? First, they couldn't do what they wanted to do at WrestleMania 7, and now now this happens, obviously beyond their control. I mean, they did have WrestleMania 21 go off without a hitch, but still, it's like, boy, LA just seems to be like, don't pick LA. It's the bad luck. It's like, don't pick LA. Pick any other city.
Well, it's interesting. LA is a big hub. It's a big town. It's a big area. Particularly WrestleMania. We've heard the rumors of somewhat of a rotation to where they have their hub cities that they'll frequent. That's probably changed now at this point. I mean, I don't know if I see them going back to New Orleans for a long time, because that's in a domed environment. I don't see it happening. If anything, it's going to be open air. But I do think that Los Angeles makes sense, time zone wise, weather wise, for the time of year. There's multiple towns and cities that you can do it in. You can do it in Santa Clara. You can do it in Los Angeles. So California itself makes a ton of sense, and LA is one of the biggest touristy areas in the country. I mean, it really is. So I think that's kind of where that's at. To respond to Matt's question down there, Matt Milcarrick, Mr. Ultimate Wrestling Fanatics himself, he says, should they bring other family in or involve other family in this? And that's kind of where we're at. For one thing, if you're not 100% on the fact that you're going to have this match, depending on crowd levels, then no, I don't think you have to rush to do that. I don't know. I don't want to see Rikishi step in the ring and, any of that. Unfortunately, Umaga is not with us anymore. Umaga would probably still be young enough to be able to pull that.
I did it for the people.
There it is. I don't think Umaga would have been old enough. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore, though. So I don't think there's a lot more out there. I mean, you can not family, but you can pull Samoa Joe in and have Samoa Joe. He is he's Samoa Joe. That could work. Um, John says, can they go back to Safeco or whatever that stadium's called? Safeco Field was great. I don't know. That's a good question, John. I mean, that's a city I'd love to see them go back to. I love Safeco Field.
Yeah.
Um,
Last time they had a WrestleMania there, it was one of the best WrestleManias, arguably.
yeah. So, could they pull other family in? Sure. Or other Samoans in? Sure, they could. There's a lot of them in professional wrestling. Let's be real. But they don't have to rush this, which I like. You're absolutely right, Matt. They can write off Jay for a little bit, have this, because I don't think Jimmy's anywhere close to being ready to get into the ring yet. You can kind of have them out of sight, out of mind right now. Roman parading around as the king of the island, the chief of the island, the head of the table, and run with that for a little while. So I thought it was very interesting, Maddie. I really enjoyed this match. I really enjoyed it. It's storytelling, and I think that this is going to open up a lot of possibilities for them. And it's the best that I've seen of the heel turn so far for Roman. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think the whole leading up to it and him just not caring at all about what he does, he's just gonna beat the hell out of his, beat the hell out of his family, retain his title. And it's a perfect example of a really great main event to close out your show that even though, some people, they talk about work rate and they talk about great classic technical wrestling or whatever, it's like, it doesn't have to be technical. All it has to do is grip you. And this grips you. Like, this
Yeah.
grips you. All they have to do, he could have done 5 or 10 Superman punches to end the freaking match. Is it a technical classic? No, but if it's telling a story, who the fuck cares?
I do hate that he's doing the Superman punch. I don't know. I thought it was such a big face. It became such a face move for him, and I hate when they do. It's why Seth got a. Well, go ahead. I'll finish my point in a minute. Go ahead.
I was gonna say you could just change it to the Luther punch. Just simple.
Oh yeah.
Just change the name. There you go.
It goes back to the old adage. We shared a video on Lazy Booking's show page before, from a question I had or somebody had asked Seth during a Q&A I attended, and they asked him. This was back around 2016, I want to say, or 17, and the question was asked. Will we ever get the curb stomp back? Right? Why the pedigree? And his whole point was, the curb stomp became such like a face thing. Having that pedigree, people resent him more for using it, right? And I think that sometimes certain moves are the same way, to where it's almost like KO getting away from the pop-up power bomb. That became so synonymous with his heel run that just didn't feel right trying to use the pop-up power bomb as a face. So he went and changed his finishing move to the stunner, with Austin's blessing, by the way, for those people that complained about that. So I don't know. That's one of my gripes, but it's a nitpick. But I really enjoyed this match. Getting into the rest of the card, we opened up with and by the way, real other quick thing. One other match I definitely forgot to mention that I don't know if we'll ever get, and I do wish that we would. If we're gonna get another Rock match, I am still dying to see Rock and Hunter at WrestleMania. At this stage in their lives, that's like the one match, really digging in from the past, that shocks me we never got at WrestleMania previously, that I think people would die for. Remember SmackDown 15, right? Where they kind of teased it with that backstage segment. Man, if we could ever get to that, dude, that would
be interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting. The only time that they ever got close to that was that fatal 4-way elimination match at WrestleMania 2000, since they had a problem with numbers back then.
Right. Give me a one-on-one match between those guys any day. John asked, do we see them bringing Nia into the storyline eventually? I don't think in a physical capacity, but what do you think, Maddie?
I mean, if she's going to be, See, the way I would have to see that happening, it would have to be pretty far along into the storyline to the point where Rock is getting involved because she's related to The Rock. So to me, he beats up Rock or he sneak attacks The Rock, and Nia then comes out and confronts him about it. And she, no physicality at all, but she can say shit on the microphone or what have you. And, have him respond, basically. Or have him cut her off before she even starts talking, and him saying, shut up. Like, I don't even want to hear you complain. Like, oh, I beat up your cousin. I don't care.
Yeah.
Or something like that to that matter, I would see that happening, but it would have to be that far along to me.
Yeah, or something like, where, maybe you have her with the Usos out there trying to talk reason into Roman, you're over the edge at this point. You've gone too far, this and that. And maybe he does something where he tries to sneak in a spear on one of the Usos and they move and Nia's behind them and he catches Nia. If we're talking physicality, maybe something like that. And then he kind of doesn't show remorse over it.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that. But
it almost like he doesn't have to smirk, but he just kind of looks down at her and just with contempt. It's just like, why the hell did you get in my way? Like, why were you standing there?
Yep. Moving on to the card now, we had the Intercontinental Title ladder match. I want to get your thoughts on it. I've gone back and forth on this match during the week, and I know that I'm in the minority. And it's just my own personal kind of a nitpick at it. However, the match overall was fantastic. The end was creative. I didn't love the ear gauge stuff, and I think we talked about this before when Randy Orton did the ear gauge stuff with screwdrivers. I don't know why. I just don't care for it. But it was creative to do it in this fashion this time around. I don't know. I'm not a big Sami Zayn guy. I don't like this character. He looks like Castro. And I'm sure that's the point, that he's supposed to look like a redheaded Castro. I just don't see any difference from the character before he went away, and I felt like it got really stale really fast, Maddie. And I wanted to see something different when he came back, even as a heel. He's a great talker, but the fact that the character hasn't evolved in his 6 months being away, and I don't know. I wasn't a fan of putting the title on him at this point. So what's your reactions to this match, Maddie?
Well, when I saw the match, I figured that Zayn was going to win, even if he had been away for a while, because I figured, okay, who needs the belt the most? Who's the one who really needs the prop? AJ doesn't need it. Jeff doesn't need it. Sammy does. Because even though Sammy just came back, no one's going to give a shit unless he's Intercontinental Champion. So that's basically what they were doing there. But to piggyback off of that, and there's a reason for that. You are right in the sense of, no evolution of the character. It is pretty much the same when he left. The thing is, though, is that I think that they're trying to see. I think it's weird. I feel like they're kind of giving him a test. They're trying to see, like, okay, let's see what we can do with Sammy while he's Intercontinental Champion. What exactly do we have here? Do we have this or do we have that with him? Because I feel like they don't even know what they want to do with Sammy right now. They're just they got him there. He's the Intercontinental Champion because he needs a belt to kind of make him relevant. Now they're trying to figure out, okay, so what can we do with him now? What program can we put him in that can get the most out of it? Can we use the character he is now, or do we have to slowly turn him into something else while he's carrying that championship? I don't know what WWE is planning with him right now. I mean, they may very well just have him just shit talk throughout the entire time of him being champion. Is that the right way to go about it? Maybe. He is a good talker, but at the same time, if his character's not changing like you're saying and no one's giving a shit, then it's like there's no point to the title change.
Yeah, Greg says, I hate that Sammy has the belt. He's boring, but I agree with Maddie. His character needs something because he's boring without anything. And John says Sammy versus Owens in a WWE ladder match. Maybe after the draft. It's or no. Yeah. Are they on the same show now? I can't even remember anymore. The hell's the Intercontinental? No, the Intercontinental title's on SmackDown. I can't
Yeah,
even remember anymore at this point. Yeah, maybe after the draft, it's a possibility. I know, I'm all screwed up. And they got another draft coming up in a few weeks. So we'll see. Stay tuned, John. That's a definite possibility. It's been long enough at this point, but again, neither character's developed, so I don't feel like the story would feel the same. I mean, we love their in-ring chemistry, and we've always said that, but I just don't know if the story would captivate me at this point in time. But that's the key with Sammy. Can you change the character? I see no indication that they're going to. I'm a little surprised that they put the title back on him, just considering all of the fitter fodder. Maybe it's just that rumor and innuendo, just regarding the backstage issues he caused regarding COVID and stuff. And again, I'm not saying whether he was right or wrong about certain things, but there was the rumor and innuendo. We don't know if it's true, that he was trying to get people to basically revolt and walk out. And you can't do that. You can't do that. I know. I get it. I get what you're doing, but you can't do that, Sammy. Your Castro hat and beard are getting a little bit to your head. You're living the gimmick. So I was surprised that they put the title back on him. But, we'll see how the character and how this shakes out.
True. And if worse comes to worse, if it doesn't work out, like John said, if the draft comes and Owens and him are on the same show, you just put the belt on Owens, or you go back to Jeff or AJ, because they can drop the title to anybody, and it might be a good rub for that person.
But that's the problem, Matty, is we're hot-shotting the Intercontinental title around, man. The Intercontinental title, in the history of that's again why I have an issue with it. It is such a historic title. It's the workers' title. And the fact that I don't think we've seen a strong face run with that Intercontinental title. And can you remember the last strong face run that we've had with the Intercontinental title? No.
I think it would had to have been Rollins from like 3 years ago when him and Dolph were trading the belt back and forth, and that was it.
Okay, and it meant something then. It started to kind of mean something then. And now we've gone back to, we've had Braun who hotshot that title for a couple weeks or a month, whatever it was. We've had Sammy. We had AJ have it for a cup of coffee. Jeff have it for a cup of coffee. And I almost feel like the title, again, means nothing. This is the one title that's going back and forth, and they managed to continually resurrect it, but then they take it off and put it on somebody who I don't think does the title justice. And I mean no disrespect to Sami Zayn in that instance, but this character didn't work in this role before, and the character has to work for the title at this point too, to be able to resurrect it. John says, one more question. Will we see James Storm in WWE? I've been reading so many stories saying it might happen. I would say, go ahead.
I heard that the pandemic paused it. Like, he was going to go back to WWE, and then the pandemic hit, and it was like, nope, not happening. So maybe after things calm down, but then again, maybe not. Maybe Storm's just like, all right, it is what it is. Just wasn't meant to be.
Or never say never. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities for that. But I agree with Maddie in that right now. They have to get home in order first. Who has the first pick, Raw or SmackDown? They haven't announced it yet. It's in a few weeks. It's like the middle or end of October. I think the middle of October. Can you bring Craig's comment back up for me, Frank? Frank doing a great job back there on the ones and twos. It says, going back to your frustrations from a few weeks ago, back Chrome doesn't like the constant talk of how very few characters evolve currently speaks volumes for the current product. Yes, it's a problem. It's a major issue. It's an issue on Raw. It's not an issue on SmackDown. SmackDown continues to evolve. So Sammy not evolving on SmackDown, to me, I mean, the character could develop, but they hot shot him immediately into this program the instant he came back. And I get it. He never lost the title, but he also, he left. He left with, he was gone. You can't go 6 months without a title. So, it's not like back in the day, Maddie, where Shawn Michaels was suspended for a month or two, and because he wasn't within the 30 days, he had to give up the title. That is a lot different back then.
Yeah.
You can't go away for 6 months and come back and declare yourself still a champion.
Also, that program was way, way bigger. So,
But overall, this match was a great match. A lot of great high spots. I thought the chemistry between the three guys was fantastic. And I mean, Jeff Hardy, man, the shit this guy still puts his body through is insane to me.
I know. He's like Mick Foley today. He's like the
Yeah.
modern day version of him. Just, I'll go through anything and I'll still do all those crazy ass spots even at my age. He
And
doesn't
listen,
care.
he doesn't have the built-in insulation that Mick Foley has either. So it's a lot more brutal on the body for sure. Moving on to our next segment, we had a switch of the 24/7 title. Drew Gulak defeating R-Truth. We moved on then to the Raw Women's Championship match, to where we had Asuka and Zelina Vega. And I'm going to also tie this immediately into Raw. Zelina Vega loses clean in the middle of the ring and gets a rematch. However, Mickie James loses on a screwy thing in the middle by the referee, screwing up a finish. So you don't get your actual finish, and it's a match people would like to see again. Craig handcuffed through the air. It's an actual thing, and she's jobbing out to Zelina the week later. It's mind-boggling. This is that WWE booking we were talking about. Do you have a reaction to this match? I really don't. I didn't really care about it.
The moment I saw that Zelina got the number one contendership, I'm like, okay, Asuka's retaining the title. There was no doubt in my mind.
I mean, cool finish to reverse, Zelina's hold into, the Asuka lock. That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I mean, it kind of went as I expected it to go. So we'll move on from that match. United States Championship, another one, and this is why, a lot of high grades. And you're right, Prism. A lot of high grades for these matches. However, I've seen these matches 100 times. I mean, we're 5 months into Lashley and Apollo Crews, but Lashley retains by submission. Whatever, Maddie, same for you.
Yeah, I didn't really give a shit about this match. Even when I saw it on the card, I was like, and I care why?
Yeah. So we're going to go on to the Raw Tag Team Championship here. Street Profits and Andrade and Angel Garza. It's a match that I think we talked about. I talked about last week, and I'm sure you talked about with the boys on Saturday. I didn't really need to see this again. However, I will say, really great, really good match. One of their better matches. Unfortunately, a weird ending due to the concern of Angel Garza being seriously injured. Early reports are that the injury is not as bad as they expected, and there could be a rematch in the very near future. So it's kind of weird, Maddie. I bring this up, Maddie, because we're at that point now, right? We talked about Matt Hardy, right? And what AEW has now created, in my opinion, a panic through mainstream professional wrestling, in that by allowing Matt Hardy to continue out there and parade him out there, and after he looked like he was dead, now has a lot of these officials gun shy. We saw it happen with Mickie James. The referee screwed it up, might have thought that she was injured and just ended the match. Here, I'm not saying that they made a wrong decision, but I do believe that this is a product of it, because, again, the reports were he really wasn't hurt that bad. I don't recall him. They could. I don't know why they couldn't have continued the match as just a 2-on-1 and had a normal finish. Everybody looked lost, and that's the other issue. Nobody looked like they understood what was going on. And that, to me, again, is where an official needs to communicate and say, we're taking it home now. There's an injury, so that you don't all look like a bunch of lost puppy dogs standing out there. The Prophets looked lost. They walked by them. Everybody just looked completely out of the loop.
It was weird because you would think, at that moment, after Angel was hurt and there was getting attention to him on the outside, they just the finish looked like they fucked it up, which didn't help anything, because literally Andrade goes down for the 3, It's 1, 2. He clearly kicks out, and they still count the 3. And he now rolls out of the ring to go. Now, that confused me at first because I didn't realize Angel was hurt. And then when he rolled out of the ring and I saw Angel down, I'm like, I see now. This is what happened. So they immediately said, finish the match now because Angel's hurt on the outside. And so Andrade just went down, kicked out too early. But that was going to be the finish anyway because they realized, okay, fuck it, let's just get the match over with. Screw anything else we had planned. And it's like, well, guys,
I don't know that though, Matty. I don't know that because to me, that looked like what it looked like to me was the referee decided to finish the match early. There was no communication. There's no, this is going to be the quick finish. It looked to me like there was an opportunity there with a roll up because even when he kicked out, the referee called for the bell. You look at the Street Profits and they are totally lost on what just happened.
That's
completely
a good point.
Lost.
Yeah.
So nobody knew what was going on. And I mean, they did not do a good job at selling what just happened.
Yeah.
So it was very, very, very unusual. And I feel like if they knew, if the referee communicated and say, we're going home now, there might be an injury, I felt like you would have got a little bit of a different reaction to that. So that's why I was really lost. And I think that that's where maybe they felt. It's not like the injured guy in the ring was part of the finish. It'd be different then. Hey, he's hurt. Like that's, I guess if the guy thought Mickey was hurt, even though I don't know how he can make that mistake, that's one thing. With that, all right, we got to go home and get her out of this situation. But Garza was already outside. You could have just wrapped it up, roll them up, do whatever you do, hit their finish or whatever they're going to do and call it a day. I just didn't see, to me, that didn't tell me there was communication from the official in terms of wrapping up that match.
Yeah, and it was all disorganized, and it was clear. No matter what you got out of it, it was obviously disorganized, and there was a big lack of communication there. And that, here's the thing though. While that may be something you can look at and say, okay, that's that's what happened. That's something that is a scary trend, like you were picking up on, a trend that can't keep happening. These communication breakdowns, they got to be like, whoa, you need to pull everybody in to a room or something like that, and you need to say, okay, when someone looks like they are hurt, do not panic. Just take a deep breath and remember, if the match has got to end, you end the match. You do what you got to do to get the match done, but don't panic. And I feel like that's what's going on. They panicked. It's like, but that's the thing you can't do in that ring. When something bad happens, and it can happen anytime, even the most simplest of moves, something bad could happen. But that's the worst thing you can do at that moment is panic and make it all look like shit. And then on top of it, make everybody confused because then they don't know if the match is continuing. They don't know if they're going home. And it's like, then if somebody's hurt, then they're still working. It's like they can get hurt more. It's like you can't have a communication breakdown. That can turn into something really bad real quick.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's what we had, and I'm sure we're going to get that rematch down the road for the 900th time. Moving on, because this was a scenario where it did affect things. We have to mention that there were talent that were held off of the card last minute due to potential COVID being exposed to COVID. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, that tag team match against Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan was pulled, as well as Nikki Cross being pulled from her SmackDown Women's Tag Team match. So on Inaudible, they had Bayley come out, issue a challenge. Asuka answers the call, and we end up getting a rematch between champion versus champion for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I want to get your reactions to the end of this because I'm apparently in the minority. The beatdown was good as Sasha Banks comes out, hits Bayley with a chair, causing the disqualification, ending the match. The beatdown was good, but I want to get your reaction first before I give mine.
Yeah,
well, I mean, the audible called.
Well, I thought the audible was fine. If you had a situation where you didn't want to put Nikki out there because of the COVID situation, that's fine. Asuka pulling double duty, she did it at SummerSlam. obviously she's a good enough worker. She can do it, and I'm not worried about that. Plus, she's working with Bayley. As much shit as anyone wants to throw at Bayley, Bayley's fine in the ring. Like, I very rarely have you seen Bayley really fuck up. It's on the mic that she had her problems. But, with that, I figured that at some point we were going to get Sasha interrupting in the match, because as the match was going further and further along and Bayley was hovering on the outside, I'm like, all right, Sasha's coming out at some point, like as the match was going along. And then it happened, and I thought, okay, we figured that would happen. Obviously, they're not going to do the match yet because she still got the neck injury. However, though, it was a little weird that, instead of Sasha just kind of beating her down and Bayley kind of running off into the sunset trying to get the hell away, eventually she counters Sasha and starts beating Sasha down. And then eventually Sasha counters that and starts beating her down. I feel like, well, okay, seems a little excessive, at least in my opinion, is a little excessive. It's like you had a counter on a beatdown so that you can start beating them down. And it's like, okay, whatever. However, though, it did end the way it should have, where Sasha in the ring just looking down at Bayley and being like, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. It's coming. But in terms of the way the match ended, I'm fine with the disqualification because obviously Bayley's got to hold on to that SmackDown Women's title because that's eventually the match we're going to get is between her and Sasha for that belt.
Yeah.
And you know what? I mean, nothing came out of there that made me go, besides it being a little long, the drama was there, I felt. I did feel like the story was there. So it's like, you know what? That's fine. I'm fine with it. There was a weak-ass few chair shots, which, I guess that's just people overthinking themselves because of, But other than that, though, I really didn't have a problem with it. I just figured this was going to be a match to push us along further in the Sasha Bayley soap opera is the best way to go about it. I would say storyline, but it's going on for so long. It's a goddamn soap opera.
And I'm all fine and good with that. In terms of, what's been done to build that program at this point, I'm fine. Here's my issue. I'm a common sense guy, so maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot every time because I feel like every week I have to bring up something common sense. But chair around somebody's neck, and you jump on the chair and you crack the fucking chair on their neck, right?
Yeah.
Are they coming back like 2 or 3 weeks later? Like we watched Brian Pillman. He was out for however many months when they did it on his foot. Now your neck. Now we're okay. We can come back after a couple weeks on a neck. Like they couldn't write her off for 6 weeks. 6 weeks would have been more suitable to me. And then she gets her ass beat again a couple weeks later, which to me should re-aggravate it. Now she's okay. She can come in. Oh, a couple little grabs to the neck tells me the neck is injured. Come on. And I'm not knocking. In this case, I'm not knocking the women. It has nothing to do with them. It has to do with the booking of this. I understand that they were hot shot, but in my eyes, Maddie, that Sasha beatdown was going to happen regardless of if it was Asuka or Nikki.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why this is being. You made us wait 3 years for this. Like almost 4 years. I think we could wait a couple extra weeks to at least do it right and do it justice and make it believable. And that's my issue with it. However, the execution was good. And I can't knock that. It's the book. This is creative. This is a beef with creative in my mind.
Yeah.
Not using common sense.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, I think you and me are in the same ballpark with this. If we had the book in this case, we would have said, okay, so for the next few weeks, Sasha, we love you. You can go do whatever you want. Go film the next season of Mandalorian. At the end of the day, you are not going to be on television. Sorry, we got nothing for you. You have to be written off due to this angle. So because of that, it's like you go through a month or what have you, and then eventually you get Sasha to come back then. You're right, though, in the sense of, it's a neck injury. If you're going to, even if in a kayfabe neck injury, it's like, come on, neck injuries, It's like having an injury. They did the same thing with China. They had when they had that kayfabe neck injury. She came back about 3-4 weeks later, and she went into a match with Ivory, and she re-aggravated it. I mean, sure, maybe they were telling a better story in that because she re-injured it, tasteless or not, you know. But it's one of those things of like, okay, but at least when you did it back then, you had China at least not on TV, and she only showed up once or twice, and that was just to interrupt one of Ivory's matches. That was it. Like,
yeah, it's just I don't know. I'm not a fan of it in that terms, but the execution was great, and I can't knock either woman. I'm finally buying in on Bailey's character. I think Sasha as a face is going to work in this scenario. Scenario, and that's kind of where we're at. So we'll see where that develops to. We're moving on to the. We already talked about the main event with Roman and Jay. So our last match to discuss here would be would be Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton in an ambulance match. And Maddie, I loved this. I loved everything about it. I loved that they had the previous victims of Randy Orton kind of come back to haunt him, almost like the ghosts of Randy Orton's past. I was a real fan of that. So I thought it was fun. And honestly, we've seen this already, and we're probably going to see it again, it looks like. But we've seen this already, and I feel like to pull this match off again, there needed to be another element to it. And I felt like they utilized the ambulance stipulation and executed everything spot on here. I was a really big fan of it, right down to Ric Flair driving the ambulance away as Drew McIntyre ultimately defeats Randy Orton to retain his title. At one point, Big Show grabs Randy Orton's leg, does a choke slam through the announcer's table. Later on, you see Christian attack Randy Orton backstage as they're fighting, backstage. And then you come back out and Shawn Michaels appears and delivers a badass super kick. That was a great super kick. And then very subtly just boop, pushes him off the top of the ambulance. Overall, fun match. I enjoyed it. And it made me care and be invested in a match that previously I wasn't engaged in going into it.
yeah, you know what? I look at this match. This match is kind of like ironic how we had something that was just like this at Extreme Rules, but it's kind of like the equivalent of a B movie or like a good popcorn flick. You're going into this with low expectations, and you don't know what you're getting out of it. But then you find out it's like, that had a lot more to it than I thought it would. I might go back and watch this match again, maybe one day. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. It had everything that you could imagine. You had all the legends that they could find, and they could pile in there, and they caused havoc in this match for Randy Orton. I think Drew winning the matchup. I will say I was a little surprised because when I first saw the card, I thought, the way that they've been pushing Orton and the way Orton's been going this year, I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to just say, you know what? Orton's going to take the belt off of McIntyre. Not because McIntyre's been terrible. It's just been his momentum got killed because of the COVID. So it was one of those, okay, maybe they just go with Randy Orton to set up for someone beating him down the line for a big win. But no, they didn't go that route. They decided to keep the belt on McIntyre, which I thought was a pleasant surprise at the end of the day. And when the Legends got involved and everything like that, it's like, good story. I like the story there. That built up towards, Orton doing his Legend Killer thing, and there you go. He paid the price for it. He didn't get the belt because of it. So, yeah, it was fun. They got a lot out of it.
Yeah, Greg says I was expecting to see Edge driving the ambulance, not Flair. I think they're holding Edge off for a while. I mean, he's still hurt, but I think they're going to be holding Edge off, out of sight, out of mind. Remember, he's not a legend anymore. He is a legend, but he's not. He's an active participant on the roster. So I think that he gets treated a little differently in this scenario. On the contrary, I know we talked about it a lot on this show, Maddie. I thought that they were poised to put the belt on Orton, and I think that the opportunity could have been there. However, the way the booking's gone, it kind of shifted. And I think the emergence of Keith Lee may have shifted that as well. To me, there was no doubt that Drew McIntyre was going to retain here for the simple fact that they've done too much already in planting the seeds for a Keith Lee, Drew McIntyre WWE title feud, in which I still believe, and I stand by it, that we will see a Keith Lee heel turn, possibly the leader of Retribution, but we will get a Keith Lee heel turn, and he will work heel against Drew. I think they're planting seeds there, and it's just even now seeing him this week in Victory, he just has a different tone, a different attitude to him. Keith Lee, he's not the happy, smiling guy every time now. There seems to be a little bit more of an aggressive look to him, and I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's going to be real interesting to see what they do with Keith Lee moving forward on that one. If he does wind up being the leader of Retribution, they're like, okay, that's fine. Actually, it makes sense because it's NXT guys. So it's makes sense. I mean, he was one of the big players on NXT. The only reason why he didn't hold the NXT title for very long is he got hurt. So,
Some quick news and notes from Monday Night Raw. Obviously, the Legends returned. I enjoyed the opening segment with them. However, I have a mixed bag of feelings in terms of having them get attacked by Orton. Because, again, that just tells me we're going to carry this storyline. I think this was an opportunity to get an out of this. Unless, and we know we're not going to get this because he said in the promo, if Orton wouldn't have gone on and said, this will never be over till I win the title, and just kind of came out and talked about how pissed off he was and just went after the Legends and not made it feel like, all right, we're doing this to continue a storyline with Drew McIntyre. I would have liked it, but because of that, I hated it. I like the execution of the beatdown with them, considering you can't beat the shit out of Ric Flair anymore or any of that stuff. I was fine with it and what they did. Lights out, night vision goggles, whatever. It was fine. But, whatever. Other news and notes. Again, other things I hated this week. Really hated the fact that, I will explain that in 1 second, Greg. Really hated the fact that the Hurt Business is back to being positioned as a heel faction. We know they're a heel faction, but now they've already been put into this face position to go against Retribution. I don't like sub-storylines not having continuity with a major storyline, and that's a problem for me. John, we hate the names. We've discussed it. They're stupid as hell. So I'm just going to answer for you and me, Maddie, in the interest of time. To what Greg asked, not surprised Retribution didn't interfere because they have been exposed to COVID. They have tested negative, but they are on a 2-week quarantine now. So we will not see them on television, which is why you didn't see them on Raw this week. Otherwise, I would not have been surprised if we would have seen them get involved in some fashion, whether it's the Hurt Business, whether it's Drew and Orton at the end of the match. That would have been ideal. So I would say, no, I'm not surprised by that. I actually thought when Orton had the hood on, when it was the janitor there, when the Hurt Business walked by him on Raw, I thought that might be somebody. Maybe they're going to carry on the Retribution storyline by having, there's been a number of people that they said are going to be a part of it or maybe a part of it. Thought maybe they pulled the trigger on that to get them past the next 2 weeks and add another member. But they didn't. It was Orton. Any other news and notes from Raw? Nothing really to write home about. It was a okay show. Whatever. We're still doing this, Dominic. They're still doing this Mysterio stuff. I can't.
And then, of course, Mysterio's daughter is now in a romantic angle with Buddy Murphy, which
now we're sharing text messages, Maddie. We're putting people's text messages up there.
Oh my god! And then what was it? Somebody was throwing shit at Alexa Bliss, and Alexa had to respond. It was just, I'm like, oh my god, this angle has taken on a whole life of its own that they did not want.
Yeah, I mean, I could do without that. Honestly, in terms of Raw, it was a forgettable Raw. So there's not a whole ton to talk about with it. We're going to be wrapping up. He wants. Oh, we got it already. We're going to be wrapping up in the next few minutes. I did want to mention the passing of Road Warrior Animal, who passed away last Wednesday. After this show, I don't know if you guys talked about it Saturday because I was unable to listen to a whole lot of it. But on this show, Maddie, I want to get your reactions to the passing of Road Warrior Animal, WWE Hall of Famer, Professional Wrestling Hall of Famer. Arguably, in my opinion, not arguably, one half of the greatest tag teams, if not the greatest tag team in professional wrestling history. Legitimate badass guy and legitimate nice good guy. I want to get your opinions on Road Warrior Animal.
I mean, when I heard that he had passed away, I was like, wow. It's creepy in a way because we had only just had the season of Dark Side of the Ring, and what was the last episode they were talking about? Hawk. And it was like, whew, that's just weird.
I went back Wednesday night and watched that episode again, actually.
Yeah, and it's weird how the world works sometimes, and it's a shame. But you know what, Animal and Hawk, they'll always go in history as the greatest tag team. I can't even, I may be a massive fan of the Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian and the Dudleys, but they got nothing on the Road Warriors. The Road Warriors were unstoppable. They held championships everywhere they went. Didn't matter what era in their career, even if it was quote unquote past their prime, they don't care. They still held tag team titles, and they held them for quite a length of time. They were that good, and they lasted for decades and generations and generations. And if there is tag teams in heaven, we all know who's carrying those straps right now. It's the Legion of Doom / the Road Warriors right now.
Oh man, there was a picture that was floating around. It was from Survivor Series, might have been 91 or 90. I'm not sure which year, but it was a picture of Mean Gene Okerlund, Kerry, the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, the Ultimate Warrior, and the Road Warriors. And man, you just look at that picture and you think like none of them are here anymore.
God,
and it's one of those things. Like I grew up in that era, Maddie. That's my wrestling. I remember watching those. And to kind of sit back and again, we lose another one. It's so sad. And what I could kind of share with people on here, which is crazy, and I'll share it because there's a reason I'm sharing it. But we hadn't announced it yet because we were setting the date, but we were actually supposed to have Road Warrior Animal on the show in the next couple weeks. He was. I actually talked to him Monday night. So the Monday night he passed away Wednesday. We were going to lock in the date the end of last week or this past weekend that just happened. So, obviously it was a shock for me in a sense of I just talked to this guy too. We were going to do something special with him about tag team wrestling, not necessarily mainly focused on the Road Warriors. And unfortunately, as we know, that's not going to happen. So what I can kind of tell you guys, 2 weeks from tonight, October 13th, we are going to have a special episode of Lazy Booking where we are going to have some special guests join us to talk about the legacy of Road Warrior Animal, the Road Warriors in general, and just about Joe Laurinaitis. So it's going to be a celebration of Animal to fill that spot, and we've been fortunate that we have a couple of confirmed guests already, and a couple of more that may be on the way to join us for that show. It's going to be a great show, so mark your calendars. I can tell you October 13th here on A2D Radio on Lazy Booking. 2 weeks from tonight, we will have our celebration of Animal, Road Warrior Animal, with some special guests from professional wrestling who we're very, very happy to be a part of this. So that's going to be a great show. And I'm excited. I'm excited about that. You know, I was really looking forward to talking to Joe and having him on here. I mean, we've all seen interviews with the guy, and he is a class act. And it's very, very sad. And we here at Lazy Booking, at A2D Radio, send our condolences to his family. Passed away on his wedding anniversary.
What?
Crazy.
Wow.
So I don't know yet if they have confirmed. I believe it was that day. So the cause of his passing has not been announced. I just want to look something up real quick. But he had tweeted earlier in the day a picture of his wife and a happy anniversary. And so it was the actual one. The news broke Wednesday morning. He actually passed away on the 22nd. So that would be Tuesday night. It's wild.
Yeah.
You know, they've reported natural causes. So, you know, I don't want to speculate anything, but I believe they had his funeral today or tomorrow. Very sad. And you know, we want to pay respect to him, and we're going to do it the right way here. So again, for all you guys tuning in, I know we're getting some traction now, guys, but we're signing off. Mark your calendars, October 13th, 7:30 p.m. here on A2D Radio, here on Lazy Booking. And as we get closer, we will give you guys more details on the guests that will be joining us. I can confirm today there are 2 confirmed guests. But I could tell you, it doesn't matter. I can tell who it is. They told me it's okay. We already know we're going to have Nikita Koloff on with us, who is great friends with Animal. He's been on this show before. So he's going to come back on with us, and we're going to talk about Animal in and out of the ring, because he knows him very, very, very well. Knew him before he was a professional wrestler. You know, Minnesota boys.
Yeah. Along with Scott Norton.
Yep, and he was a big part of that Dark Side of the Ring documentary as well. So we will have Nikita Koloff joining us, as well as Bushwhacker Luke, who was just on with us at the beginning of this month. And he actually was who we were going to have on with Animal to do a show about tag team wrestling. So Bushwhacker Luke is confirmed he's going to be coming on with us as well. And there are a couple possible other guests. So stay tuned with A2D Radio. We'll stay tuned and follow A2D Radio, guys. Follow us on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. Make sure you're following, subscribe, like. 5-star ratings are appreciated. We love you guys. As well as follow us on all our podcast platforms: iHeartRadio, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, or iTunes, whatever you call it, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify. Get all your podcast versions if you miss any of this and you like to listen to the audio in the car. And you know, I will probably drop those names a little bit earlier. So if you want to follow the Lazy Booking show page, it's also, the link of that is in this chat, or it's at the top of the caption of this show. So make sure you guys are checking out for that stuff. Other thing we announced, we're going to kind of start rolling it out in a couple weeks. A2D is rolling out A2D Wrestling on Instagram. So if you're looking for just wrestling content, A2D Wrestling is going to be your spot. So we'll be rolling some of that out. That's going to be fun. And shout out to Ultimate Wrestling Fanatics, great group of guys who support us. If you're looking for a great wrestling group to chat wrestling, check them out. And guys, get in the Real Talk group, the A2D Real Talk group. If you're not in that, where the hell are you? Where are you talking your sports at? Because you're talking with a bunch of buffoons. Get in there, get in the Real Talk group. Man. You know, you got us here. We got you guys in the chat. We love talking to you guys in the chat. You're going to get a little edgier version. You're going to get a little more one-on-one in that Real Talk group. So join that Real Talk group. And that's it. That's it. So shout out again to our sponsors. Thank you to Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy. And again, you can find him specializedphysicaltherapy.com, no appointment necessary. Ambuckservices.com. Get your house in order, outside, gutter guards, gutter cleaning, all that stuff at ambuckservices.com and let Michael Ambrose know we sent you. Get you 20% off. Shout out to Philly Drinkers, all the great A2D merch they drop, show shirts, A2D shirts, Philadelphia-inspired A2D shirts, shorts, tumblers. They had a fall collection that's out right now. Stickers, whatever you want, you find it there. The shorts are the most comfortable shorts I've ever worn in my life, and I'm not bullshitting you guys. I swear I'm not pulling your leg. Check them out. It's phillydrinkers.com. You can find the specific A2D collection at phillydrinkers.com/A2D radio. The Philadelphia Quarterback Factory shirts there, guys. And by the way, how relevant is that right now? You go get your promo code A2D. You're going to get 25% off that shirt. So there's never a better time to have the Philadelphia Quarterback Factory shirt than right now in Philadelphia.
How's your Birds of a Feather show been doing over the course of this Eagles season so far?
It's been fun, Maddie. And I'll tell you what, Thursday night when we precede you guys for Hockey Happy Hour, it's going to be another fun 2 hours. Let me tell you.
Sure it will.
It's going to get nasty. I'll tell you that. You're going to we had a condensed version, so you didn't get Heel Chrome tonight. You will get Heel Chrome on Thursday night. I promise you guys.
Saving it.
So, thank you again to the sponsors. Thank you to Frank in the back end for doing this for us. We appreciate you, brother, on the ones and twos, doing a phenomenal job. Thank you to you guys for your comments, for your follows, for your support. As always, we love you guys. And for myself and for Maddie, great show. Thank you for a great show. Appreciate you, brother.
Damn it.
By the way.
There we go. We got it right that time.
It's always the opposite of what you think it is.
I know.
So make sure you stay tuned to A2D Radio tomorrow. You'll have the Fix in the PM, and all of our other great shows. You'll see myself and Maddie on opposite shows, but on Thursday night with Birds of a Feather and Hockey Happy Hour, and all the great programming here on A2D Radio every day. Their shows. So for myself, for Maddie, for Frank, for A2D Radio, and everybody here, we love you guys. Stay safe, take care, and have a great night.